Hey folks, welcome to Weekend Technical Analysis Update by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. This Weekend Technical Analysis Update is for Monday, August 3rd through Friday, August 7th, 2009. Well, folks, as we get into this weekend technical analysis video, there's a bunch of things we need to cover. Obviously, we have to look forward to next week and talk a little bit about last week and how this market shaped up. What is this market showing us? Are we seeing any changes in character? Because there were some key things that happened on Friday and on Thursday that really were a big change from the way things have been in the recent history of this market, meaning that the last couple weeks to a last month or two activity. Now, we're going to go over all that. I want you to be fully versed in this stuff because it's going to play a role next week. You have to be ready to read your time, pattern, price, technical trendline analysis, and you have to be on the cutting edge of understanding the changes in the market. Remember, the market is a living, breathing organism. In fact, kind of that type of style, which means those people that react the quickest will make the money. If you're later and you're lagging, you will lose the money. That's the bottom line. Generally, the market will be a net sum game. All right, the bottom line is when you have big money against small money, generally big money wins. We're here to make sure that the small money, the average guy out there, has a shot to win in this market and profit. Now, looking across this board, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week. First of all, on Friday, the market was basically flat. Not surprising. We talk about how Fridays in the summer, just like Mondays, are often very, very light volume, and you'll see the markets generally float sideways to slightly up. That's basically what happened. We had the Dow up 17 points, the NASDAQ was down about 6, and the S&P was flat, just up 0.73 points on the day. Now, for the course of the week, you had a small up week. Absolutely. You hit new highs. You hit 99.80 on the SPY, which is kind of interesting considering, and you can see it right over here on the charts, right up in here. This is where we hit the 99.80-ish level, and it's interesting because everyone expected the SPY or the S&P 500 to go to that 1,000 level, and it was kind of a little bit of trickery there. All right, they knew everyone was waiting for it to go there to either sell at that point or short at that point, and they said, not so fast. We're not going to give it to you that easily, and that's what there is. Remember, the market knows. All right, the market is based on psychology of human nature. It's taking the psychological aspects of everyone out there, every investor, every trader, every fund, you name it out there. It's all compiled into one, and that's kind of like an organism. We talk about that organism of the market, so you have to understand how this type of stuff works. So if everyone's expecting it to go somewhere, generally the market will not oblige, and you can see that perfectly this week on Thursday when we hit 99.80 and change here, and then you never quite got there. You were about 17 cents from clearing that 100 on the SPY, which everyone's expecting, didn't give it to us, and we actually have sold off a little bit from there, coming back to about 98.81. So we're basically down $1 off the highs on the SPY. Now, the interesting thing about this, guys, those of you that follow our premium services, which again outperform any others out there by far, but bottom line is, those of you that follow, we're looking for these changes in character. Now, I only discuss intraday stuff on these videos. If you want the longer term, the daily, the weekly, the monthly type of information, you got to sign up. And again, we cover oil, the dollar, the gold, and the S&P, any stocks in play, Goldman Sachs, ExxonMobil, the big guys usually, even highlight a few little guys every once in a while. But long story short, that's included in the Research Center. Multiple services, all for $49.99 a month. Easiest, the best value out there in our opinion. But in any case, what we were talking about to our premium subscribers all last week was to look for a change in character in the market. And you can see clearly that on Thursday and Friday, you started to get a little bit of a change in character. Now, it doesn't solidify necessarily a pullback in this market. I'm not saying that. Again, that's for our premium subscribers to know what we're really projecting. But what you can see here is that in general, we saw buy programs hit. Remember how shady this market's been, how out of control this market's been. Everything's a buy program, it seems, up until Thursday and Friday. And then what we did see Thursday and Friday, especially starting here on Thursday, is a little bit of hard selling, possibly institutional dumpage here, selling off from 3:30 to 4. Guess what happened on Friday? Same thing, 3:30 to 4, last half hour, hard selling comes in the market, and obviously you're seeing people unloading and taking things off. Now, that's the first time since really March when this rally began that we've been seeing this type of activity, so it's really quite something you have to pay attention to and really understand. All right, so watch for this coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. Let's see if it continues. Does this mean that we break down? Now, there's key trend lines I've drawn. These are the trend lines you have to pay attention to. You have to know. A lot of analysis is going into these trend lines. This is really key stuff. There's reasons why certain ones are up there, certain ones are not. These are the main ones you want to focus on. Again, if you want the hardcore analysis, you got to join the Research Center, which again has everything included on the website InTheMoneyStocks.com under Research Center. But what you can see here is if you take the high pivot from 99.83 right here, the absolute high on the SPY, and you connect it to the pivot high right here, the secondary pivot right here later on Thursday, and look at how this perfectly plays out. It gives you the high on Friday in the afternoon, and then the pierce right there, and we close back below below that. So that's beautifully telling us that that level, that trend line is a very important trend line going into Monday now. Now on the downside, look at this one. And again, I'll show you where this one's coming from. You have to actually scan all the way back to this pivot high going back to the 27th, all right, of July. So the 27th right into the close, we had a pop. If you take that, connect it to the high of the 28th right there, and you connect it all the way through, you see it comes right underneath at this 98.60 level, comes right underneath right here, and look at how there's nothing that can break below that blue trend line. All right, so you have to be aware of that. Look at how you get below here, but by the close they save it and don't let it close. So you're really having a battle of wills here between longs and shorts. You know, shorters, longs, buyers, sellers, whatever you want to call them. You're having a big battle here. Which way is it going to break? Are we going to break out above the blue line? If that does happen, in general, I would anticipate a move to 99.80 again at the highs of the green trend line right here. Again, you can see how clearly this marks the high pivot from over here. That will be resistance. If you break the blue line to the downside, you'll have a minor or decent support level right here at 98.60. If you get below that, you could actually have a very nice fall down to the 200 moving average right here at 98.25. And then, believe it or not, you could even go to gap fill at 98.10 to $98 even number. Now, where's that gap fill from? Right here. See this little gap? Big gap right here, I should call it actually a big gap. That's what that is right there, folks. You have to watch that so closely, because what I'm saying here is basically I'm giving you a heads up and a little edge on next week's market to watch which way this breaks out. Now again, this is just near-term stuff, and I say that and I remind you of that because if you want the analysis like this based off the daily charts, you got to join that research center. But I'll show you and give you examples of how we do this, how accurate we are. Again, calling all the major and minor moves in this market with extreme accuracy, probably about 90% success rate on calling key moves in the market on a daily intraday basis. Regardless, chat room, the guys know in the chat room. All right, bounces, pullbacks, scalps, you name it. Again, daily charts in the research center offer the moves there as well. So keep an eye on that and come join us. But long story short, you can see break of the blue line here. The high percentage, you come down to the 200 here, and the gap fill right down here at around 98 to 98.25. If you break to the upside, guess where you're going? Probably back to the highs, and the second time up, there is a chance that we could break that 100 level as they faked out a lot of people right here and maybe push. Now, which way could this market go next week? Well, that's in the cards for us to tell our premium members, obviously. But long story short, I'm giving you a little edge here to make sure you have an edge on which way this market could go, up or down, just by analyzing. All right, now you do have dotted lines in here. Dotted lines are minor levels. Those will be a little intraday resistance levels for scalps for our traders, obviously, that they'll be watching. You can see on the upside right here at 99.20, then ultimately right up here at 99.40 to 99.50, and then right up here at 99.65. Those are all levels, scalpable levels, but they're minor. They're just minor. The thick ones are the major ones. Now, a couple things we want to go over before we end this video here on this weekend. You want to really follow some key economic data next week. Remember, next week is the much anticipated unemployment rate, jobs numbers. All right, 9.6 market is what market expecting. Will it be higher, lower? That's going to be a huge thing. That comes out on Friday, so watch that. The market on Thursday could get very quiet ahead of that number as everyone expects it. Now, you have the ADP employment change on Wednesday. That will be kind of a precursor to that employment number, so that's going to be looked at as very key as well. In addition, construction spending on Monday, ISM index on Monday, let's see, personal income on Tuesday, personal spending, pending home sales. Wednesday, again, ADP employment number. That's a big number, folks. Highlight that one. Factory orders at 10, ISM services at 10, and then Wednesday, obviously, crude inventories. Thursday, initial claims. Initial claims are always big. We saw a little bit of a pop initially on last initial claims. We'll see if that comes through. Average work week, hourly earnings, and then, you know, this is all on Friday. The average work week, hourly earnings, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, consumer credit, not a big deal there. But the unemployment rate is huge. Star that one. That's huge on Friday, guys. I can't stress that enough. You're going to see volatility off it for the first half of the day. Even though it is summer and you have light volume Fridays, that will cause a lot of volatility off that move, and we'll watch for it. On earnings front, folks, what is coming up on earnings? I know everyone's waiting. There's not a whole lot left on the big companies that affect the market. A couple I'm seeing across the board here. You have a couple home companies, building companies here are reporting next week. Home sales companies, not a big deal there. I'm taking a look through and scanning as we do this video. What you can see, I do see that Cisco is reporting on the 5th, so I believe that's Wednesday. So that'll be a decent one for tech, guys. Cisco Systems is definitely decent for tech. Procter & Gamble is on Wednesday as well. That can be one as it plays in the Dow. Prudential Financial, that'll be an interesting one for financials. And then other than that, not a whole lot. Okay, so just be aware that earnings are dying down. You still have a lot of companies reporting, but a lot of the big ones have already done it. All right, folks, that's all for this weekend video. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. We will be back Monday with our intraday free. But again, if you want the hardcore stuff, you got to join the Research Center. Take care.